Hello friends, welcome back to a new video. So in today's session, we are going to do an interview of a renowned historian, Prof Dr. K.S. Mathew. I'll give a brief introduction about him. He has done his Master's in History from Pune University, then did his PhD on Portuguese sources and the trade with the maritime Kerala coast, particularly from 16th to 18th centuries. That was where he did his MPhil and PhD from. Then he had his career in Maharaja Sayaji Rao University as a lecturer, then had his career spanned over Central University in Hyderabad, and also he was a founding person when it comes to the history department in Pondicherry Central University. He was also instrumental in studying about the Muziris and the relation with the imperial Roman Empire. And also he has his works related with Kerala and the spice route. He has around 24 odd books published, as well as around 100 plus articles published in renowned journals. He was also felicitated by UGC, and he was also a member in Indian Council of Historical Research, ICHR, as well as the Kerala counterpart of it, which is the KCHR. He has also been there in as a visiting faculty in foreign universities. He was a Fulbright scholar in Wisconsin, in USA, Ottawa, Canada, and also he has been there in Lisbon, Portugal, Germany, as well as France for his academic pursuits. Without further delay, I will invite Prof Dr. K.S. Mathew to the interview. Welcome, Father.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, we all know that you have done quite a bit of research in the Portuguese interactions, commercial interactions with the Malabar Coast, the western coast of India. So, and its particular relevance in Kerala. So, what the question that I wish to ask is, other than the commercial interactions, what were the important, like non-commercially, what was the impact of the Portuguese, if you can say?
You know, when we go through the pages of the Indo-Portuguese relations, at least a few books have been published. We can learn that they have entered not only in the commercial life of the people, but also the religious, social, and other factors. For example, the life of the people on the western coast had been greatly affected by the Portuguese religion, or the religion which was promoted by the Portuguese, like the Latin Church, the Padroado, and the St. Thomas Christians. So they have gone deeper into the life of these three different churches.
Okay, Father. So that made me to ask another question. When the Portuguese came here in India, there were the Indian St. Thomas Christians, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that many of those St. Thomas Christians also would have acted as the local agents for the Portuguese.
Yeah.
So, like, what was was there any resistance from these local agents to the Portuguese, their colonial ambitions?
No. In the initial stage, we don't find anything. But in the later stage, especially after 1600, we find that when they have been insisting on the Latin rite, the Syrian Christians began to resist. And they did not want to have any bishop or archbishop coming from Portugal. Rather, they would like to have people from other places. So these activities of the Syrian Christians were rather well brought out by scholars like Matthias and others. And they had been supporting the attitude of the local Catholics. Because initially, at least up to 1599, the Portuguese were thinking that there was no Catholic Church in India, only a kind of Christianity which was influenced by Nestorianism. But later it was proved that it was not so. Then the struggle started after the Council of
Diamber, Synod of Diamber.
Yeah, the Emperor Synodos. That was in 1599. Then they began to insist that everybody should follow the decision of the Diamond Synod, which according to some historians was not at all legal legal work. Because they said that the Latin Church or Bhadrapada people did not have any right over the Catholic, Syrian Catholics. So this fight went on up to 1653, and then there was a split in the Catholic community in Kerala. From that time onwards, we find people like Jacobites, Mathemites, and other divisions.
If I can ask one thing, that
Yeah.
1653 is that Conan Cross
Conan Cross,
oath that you
yeah,
are talking
yeah.
about.
In
Right.
Mattancheri.
Yeah, Mattancheri. Further, as a researcher in this Portuguese sources, do you think that during the course of research or any particular kind of sources or anything which were overlooked by the research community, which would have been more important, but it was kind of sidestepped or overlooked? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, because the enthusiasm created in the minds of the Syrians did not really get any access to the sources available in Lisbon. Because from 1600 and onwards, we have plenty of documents available in Goa archives, Indian archives, they call sometimes. And Diogo de Couto, one of the writers of the Dekadas de India, was the first archivist, and he collected a lot of material from various parts of India and then began to establish a very good archives. But these were all in Portuguese language, and people from other parts of India did not know it. A few people in and around Cochin must have been familiar with the language. But apart from that, the activities of the Portuguese prior to the 16th century were not properly known, and they were found only in the National Archives of Lisbon, Arquivo Nacional Torre de Tombo. So that contains a lot of material, but not all. A good number of them had been destroyed by the fire in Lisbon, sometime in the second part of 18th century. And now they have collected all the available material in Lisbon and other places, also from India, London, and so on, and brought out a good publication, Biblioteca Ultramarina Portuguesa. Dr. Anthony Silverego came with the experts to India to make photocopies for that is called a filmoteca. I think about 50 volumes are available even in my own library.
Yeah, I have seen the library is a treasure house of Portuguese archives and sources.
Yeah.
Further, one thing I wanted to ask is, so if you look into the western coast of India,
Yeah.
where exactly can we find that Portuguese culture alive, other than in Goa? Goa we know,
Yeah.
but other than that?
I think it is maybe one can pinpoint and say that it is Fort Cochin, which contains a lot of people who have been brought out in the Portuguese tradition. So we have got the Luso Indians. They are actually the people who had been influenced by the Portuguese tradition and intermarriage between Portuguese and the Indians. Because Alfonso Albuquerque in 1513 wrote a strong letter to the King of Cochin, King of Portugal, saying that intermarriage or interracial marriage between people in India and Lisbon or Portugal could be very useful and very good for the survival of the Portuguese authority in India. So even though there was suggestion that Portuguese people should not marry anybody from India, the governor, Alfonso Albuquerque, insisted that there should be intermarriage. So he promoted it, and that's why we have got people who speak Portuguese even at home in the 21st century also. Then we have got people who later married with the people coming from England, Germany, and various other countries as traders. So probably that is one of the best examples of interracial life in Cochin.
Okay.
Then I think, do you want to say more?
Yeah, no, I've got the idea. Thank you for those wise words. So, one thing now I will want to got to know is that, see, from the end around 1580, I know that there was the Iberian Union, the Portuguese and the Spanish kingdoms joined together. That is the time when we see the Portuguese decline, their colonial exploit decline all across the world.
Yeah.
But is there any other reason other than this Iberian Union for the Portuguese decline, particularly in the Kerala coast?
No, a number of Portuguese historians would say that it is because of the Spanish intervention in the overseas activities of the Portuguese that caused the decline. And they were mostly interested in the development of the Spanish culture all over the world. But they did not properly give substantial assistance for the development of Portuguese commercial activities outside. This is, I don't know whether it has been proved or not. There are opinions of this type. Up to 1640, Portugal was governed by the kings of Spain.
Spain.
So first we have got Philip I, Philip II. Philip I of Portugal, Spain, is the second of Spain, and Philip I of Portugal. So that is the way how they use. The same person will be known as Philip, but 1 and 2 depends on the affiliation to Spanish crown or the Portuguese crown.
Further, now I wish to take our attention to the maritime, the trade.
Yeah.
So, one question I wanted to ask was that we very well know that the eastern coast of Africa had like the slave trade and certain connections. Like we had even prime ministers like Malik Amber and all these people who have came from the eastern African coast as slaves here, and they later got involved in the political hierarchy here.
Yeah.
So if the government from our side is also using this as an opportunity to connect with the East Africa in the form of Project Mosam, where the monsoon winds were the reason why they used to transverse like this, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that similarly like that, can Indian government has it tried any way to improve the relations with Portugal with using this connection we had, historical connections with Portugal we had? Because if we know that from 1962 onwards, after the Govan liberation, India-Portuguese relations were not at their best till 1990s.
There was actually no attempt for making diplomatic contacts with the East African coast. Later, now that the government of India has interest in this aspect, they started the work of Mosam project.
Yeah.
And the Kerala government has a spice route. So if you are interested in seeing the activities, at least some of it, you can refer to the books related to the spice trade, which connects about 35 countries. But it is not very successful. Maybe because of some political tendencies or affiliations in Kerala. I was asked to prepare a book on spice route, which I have already published under the auspices of the government of Kerala. Then later, the Mosam project the people approached me. I brought out one book on Cochin under the heading under the Mosam project. So since I have published and had a relation with the spice route as well as the Mosam project of Government of India, I can say that it's not at all actively or properly done. because of otherwise we could say that India or Kerala had a lot of commercial connections with more than 35 countries in the world. But now nobody is properly giving any attention. Mausam is still going on, almost in the same way, Spice Road project.
Okay, Father. So, a personal question in between this. Along with a historian and a lecturer, you were also a priest. Also, you were also serving the church.
Yeah.
So, the handling these two parts, like how was the cooperation from the church and their authorities in your academic pursuits?
I think this was all totally an independent attempt on my part. I was working as a parish priest in the diocese of Tellicherry since 1966. About 5 years I worked, and in the meantime I had a great interest in finding out more details about the medieval period of Kerala history. We have very little source material available for the period, for the whole medieval period of Kerala. So I thought that this would be an ideal attempt on our part. Because of my ability to handle Latin sources, it will be possible to pass on to Portuguese sources. I had been educated in Latin medium for 7 years in the seminary and obtained a degree from the university, Roman University. So when I met once in Goa, as Minister of Education, Government of India, who is also a historian, Nurul Hassan. He came to know that I am a Catholic priest. Then he said, "You are the best person to do it because you have been educated in Latin medium, and from Latin you can very easily enter into Portuguese documentation." So I took up it and began to do my postgraduate studies in Pune, and later I went to Nehru University with the support of my Professor A.R. Kulkarni, the chairman of Indian Council of Historical Research, and he was always encouraging me. So I got a professor to teach me 2 years Portuguese in JNU, and he used to be invited by the Department of History or Center for Historical Studies in JNU, and he used to come and teach me in the department. Then they began to establish certificate course and diploma course in Portuguese language. I took both these diplomas and certificates and became rather proficient in Portuguese language. Then we tried through Indian Council of Historical Research to get a chance to go to Portugal. And the traveling expense was, plus for fellowship for 1 year, was given by the Indian Council of Historical Research. Apart from that,
just to interrupt, may I know at what time, when was it happened, you traveling to Portugal with this fellowship? At what time? At what?
1970s,
70s, 1970s, okay.
So 1977, I think. So that took about 2 years. During this time, I was able to make use of various other archives also, like Madrid, Simancas in Spain, Sevilla in Spain, then Nuremberg, Augsburg, and Mainz in Germany. Then I went to England, where I spent more than 6 months working in the British archives. And finally I came down to Portugal where I continued writing the thesis. So the entire portion of my PhD thesis was written in Lisbon, in the Portuguese seminary. And then chapter by chapter, I was sending the parts of my PhD thesis to Professor Sabyasaji Bhattacharya and K.N. Panikar. Both of them were my joint professor guides. So none of them knew anything about Portuguese language as well as history. Therefore, I had the opportunity of working under two different guides. Apart from this, I had a good opportunity of getting help in Lisbon. One professor of the new Lisbon University, who was the Minister of Education in Lisbon, came forward to help me, and he was my local guide. For 2 years, I worked under his guidance. Vittorino Magalhães Coutinho is the name. He's a very famous historian of the new history started in France. After the revolution, he became the minister in Lisbon and continues to do research. So he was very familiar with all these things, and therefore I was lucky to get his assistance. Then a number of other Portuguese historians who were fond of Indian things came forward to help me, like Theodore the Mathews, his wife, and then Philip Thomas, and a lot of people.
Okay, Father. So, which comes to one thing I also wanted to ask was that you said that you were familiar with the Latin due to your training in the seminary.
Yeah.
Does that also did that also help you in researching with the Muziris and with the Imperial Roman Empire?
Yeah,
That part also, I think it might have helped you also in that way.
Yeah, I have already wrote out a book on Muziris, which contains more than 10 or 15 articles from people all over the world, like United States, Italy, France, and also England. Then besides, we have got a few Indian scholars also. This was public. The seminar was organized in 2013 in Iringalakula, and later the whole proceedings were published by Manohar Publishers, Delhi. That is almost series. So I think this was possible because of my ability to handle Latin. Besides Portuguese.
Brother. So when the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm thinking about Muziris is the Pattanam excavation that happened. So and also there were a few scholars telling that whether that Pattanam excavation and the present area is not exactly the Muziris. So is there such a kind of a battle of words going on between the historians regarding that particular location of Muziris?
You know, there are a few historians from India who support it, say, but I made a suggestion that provisionally we can say that Pattanam was the Muziris, provisionally. So we have to get more proof. The other section of the people who say that it is not Pattanam, but some place, mostly in Kranganur area. But there is no evidence. So both the teams can work hard, and probably within a few years they will be able to bring out exactly whether the opinion founded by those excavated was right or wrong.
Okay, Father. So before just say that we are concluding, there is now the history and the course of research, everything has changed from the time where you were doing because of the technological advancement, AI and all these things. So what would be your advice, or we can say the word of caution or advice to the new enthusiastic students who are coming into the historical research?
they can probably have better access to the manuscripts, because many of the manuscripts are found in European archives as well as in India. The most important problem is the possibility of the reading, because they used to write in a very difficult script. So when I say that is a Portuguese language, it means that Portuguese had been using a manuscript with a different accent as well as the notations. So it's very difficult. A person, even after knowing Portuguese well, may not be able to read and understand the explanations or details in the manuscript form. So we should have some possibility of getting the manuscript transliterated into modern Portuguese and then get it translated. So it takes a lot of time. So I think artificial intelligence to a large extent can be of great help, and they will be able to get these materials transliterated and then translated. So I think the modern amenities will be quite helpful for them.
So thank you, Father, for that optimistic view for the future history aspirants. So thank you all for watching this video. We had a very nice and a fruitful session with a renowned scholar and historian. Please do subscribe the channel for more such videos, and please press the bell icon as well. Thank you all. Thank you for your time.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Father.